This is Strange New Worlds, episode 8, and we got a super chat from John Burns. He says, am I the only one who wants to see the president of the Union flying the Orville fighter? Get her done, guys.
Oh, yeah, you know who that is? That's Bruce Boxleitner. I can't wait to talk about that.
Okay, then we will. But not right this second. Okay.
Thank you, John.
We are reviewing Strange New Worlds, episode 8. And this was a very interesting episode. And someone before the show said, listen, if you guys don't like this, then something's wrong because it's everything you wanted. You know, more Hemmer, less Uhura. Win-win. Shane should give it 1 million upvotes.
It's funny. The Hemmer stuff, wonderful. Absolutely. I can't wait to upvote that. That we got some good Hemmer and just a little bit of Uhura, which was good. I mean, we had enough Uhura. You know, she was fine. Of course, she had to play the bad guy, which is kind of a bummer. I don't see her character being that way. But, this episode was a little bit like... I was worried about this episode through the first half of it, to be honest with you.
Really?
I was concerned. Yeah, because there was so much of the fantasy story being told that I started to wonder, like in a good Star Trek The Next Generation episode, you're going to have this kind of thing play out, but the character who's walking through who's in reality still,
right?
You get more of that. So in this episode, there was so much of the fantasy that I'm like, oh crap, are they going to do an entire episode where the fantasy is the main part of the story, or are we going to get, the intrigue of what's actually happening? And they eventually got there.
Yeah, I was a little worried about it. Same way, I was like, okay, so how are they going to explain this scientifically? And they did. So, I mean, it's science. So one thing I'm going to say about this episode, it feels like Strange New Worlds is like they found a bunch of scripts that Gene Roddenberry wrote at the bottom of a in the bottom of a drawer somewhere. Like they were rummaging through the storage unit at the old Paramount Studios or whatever, and they found Gene Roddenberry's desk that he used while on the Fox lot the Fox lot with Lucille Ball, whatever. And they find a drawer and there's a key. It's locked, and someone jimmies the drawer and they see Star Trek season 5, and he had written the whole series and it never got picked up, and they're like, oh, awesome.
Not true, by the way. Yeah.
This is not true. But every episode feels like a lost Gene Roddenberry script that was doctored up,
Which is a compliment, and that's a compliment to you writers, because Brian's not saying you guys ripped off Roddenberry. No. What we're saying is this feels very Star Trek. Yes. And it's a good thing.
Yes. So we start the show off with a sweet shot of the Enterprise, and they're conducting a survey, right, of the nebula. Of a nebula. Yes. Okay. And then Mabenga's back in his I don't say his name right, am I? Mabenga?
I love doing these shows with you just to listen to you say all the characters' names.
All right.
Mabenga is Mbenga.
Oh, is it Mbenga?
It's just the letter M, yeah. Mbenga.
Mabenga sounds...
Mabenga. That's all right. We'll get to a la-la-on later.
So. La-la-la-la-la-la-on. Yeah, I just call her LNS now. I don't say her first name.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Just in case you guys don't know, I have a pretty hefty speech impediment, and that's why some words elude me. Like,
that's what it is.
Irresponsible. I have to really think that one through. Or like representation. I still can't say. Say it.
Now everybody thinks I'm just making fun of representation. Now everyone thinks that I'm just making fun of like the slow kid. So thanks.
Yeah, I'm the slow kid, and Shane is making fun of the slow kid. Okay,
get on the bus. Get on the short bus.
I love Star Trek.
All right, I'm pretty sure you just took it over.
I just took it to the next level. But yeah, I have difficulty saying certain English words because my primary language is not English; it's actually Klingon. Kapla!
I think you mispronounced that one too.
I did.
All right. So Mbenga is having this. He's got a chief medical officer's log, and I think it's great. Each character has kind of got this. They do the log at the beginning of the show when the episode is going to sort of be about them. At first, I was a little concerned because he started talking about his daughter, in this log, and I'm like, wait, isn't she supposed to be like a secret? And then you realize it's his personal log.
Right.
So.
Right. KB Games just said Brian got canceled.
Don't worry, we were canceled long ago.
Yeah, we were canceled 3 years ago when we had to change our channel.
Yeah.
All right.
Cancellation.
So it's he's reading the book, The Kingdom. Ready? I'm going to murder this word.
Do it. You got this.
The Kingdom of Elysian.
Nice.
Damn it. I was
nice
so
try,
close.
buddy.
Elysian.
Nice
Elysian. Elysian?
Elysian, yes.
Elysian. The Kingdom of Elysian.
You got it. Nice.
Yes. This is the book that he's been reading to his daughter. He pulls it out of the transporter buffer and, goes through a chapter. And it looks like they've probably read through this book a few times, which is, if you have kids, it's a pretty common thing. I think I must have read Sandy the Sad Rabbit or something like 70 times to my kid.
Sandy the Sad Rabbit.
Yeah, some kind of sad rabbit. Audrey the Sad Rabbit. And
Okay.
Very interesting here because the kid actually, well, she jockeys for more time outside the transporter because she's lonely. She doesn't want to be out there.
Right.
But she also wants to change the story. And at first it sounds like just what kids wants, but it does play into the overall story. So because of that expert level foreshadowing that I didn't pick up on immediately, I'm going to give it my very first upvote because that was a very clever and subtle foreshadowing.
Yeah, I'll take that as well. And the only thing that I have an issue with is, would the child actually be lonely because she's in a pattern buffer? So she's not really aware of time passing, right?
Maybe she's lonely because every time she's been out, she's been in that room, in that chair with her dad reading a book.
Right, that's true. Which would account to I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to say, but they needed to make some connection, so I get it.
Yeah. Hey, Kenneth
I'll
the
take
Rogue.
that up too.
So you guys, if you don't know, Kenneth is one of our members, and there's other members in here. And Kenneth said, "Hey guys, I thought I'd stop by. It's lonely on the podcast." He's referring to the member section, and yes, in the first half, it's a little lonely over there because most of you watch over here to give us the boost we need. Then come over there. So welcome, Ken.
So that's an appropriate lonely thing right there. What Ken is going through is lonely because he's truly alone there in the member section. But I don't think, yeah.
So I mean, if he had stayed over there, perhaps a space brain would have, captured him up. I don't know.
I want to know what Kenneth's fantasy would be that we would end up experiencing.
I don't think we can put it here on the channel.
Canadian beer. I'm sure that's what it is.
All right.
Okay. All right, let's keep going.
So I did like the foreshadowing, though. She wanted to pretty much ship.
I'll take the upvote too.
Okay. She was trying to basically ship a couple characters that didn't meet, to hook up together and help the king or whatever, so she can get the perfect outcome. And I think that's a very childlike thing. Okay.
He's like, you can see he's working hard. He's slaving over trying to get a cure for his daughter.
Right.
It's obviously weighing heavily on his mind.
Right. He's still trying to figure it out. And Doctor, the shuttle crew landed several hours ago. Where you at, dude? And there's this moment with Una is both being his boss, but also being a friend like that. Listen, you're pushing yourself too hard, but you gotta also do your duties. I understand, blah blah. So it's good.
She's an excellent executive officer. I got to tell you, I have a lot of experience with XOs, and she's really good. Like her character is a good XO. Upvote Una. She's just doing her job. Star Trek, you guys got it right.
Yeah, there's a show I watch called The Last Ship. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
Yeah.
And Adam Baldwin, the actor Adam Baldwin, plays the XO on that show. Mm-hmm. And he has a similar personality to Una. And I'm always like, I would totally follow that guy around. I would do what he says,
Yeah.
It seems like he's the connection between the captain and the crew, and it works.
Yeah, I think you would follow Una around waiting for her to rip her shirt again. I think that's what would be your motivation.
How dare you? He's not wrong, folks. Not wrong. It made me sound like a stalker. Like, hey, Una, what's up?
I'm sorry. That was an intense moment, though.
Yeah. Okay. So, blah, 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 landing party. Okay, here we go. I like this. Pike and Spock talking about surveying the nebula. And what a nice change of pace. No battles, no chaos. And Spock says, the humans have superstitions. When you actually talk about something like that, it's usually, a bad omen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Calling attention to good things. And, I like this whole interaction with Spock and Pike. In fact, I'm going to give it an upvote. This interaction with Spock and Pike was very Spock and Pike. It's exactly, or Kirk and Spock. It's same chemistry. Worked.
Yeah, very similar.
The captain tells Ortega, let's get out of here. Set a course for some starbase. And again, another upvote. I'm sorry, but it was cool. She responds with, yes, sir. Following the chain of command, which previous episode I had downvoted for her for being a little too lackadaisical. And she says to the captain, yes, sir. Are you going to say it? Referring to his catch line.
Yeah. Which was funny.
Hit it. And that was great. But what made it even better was when she hit the button and nothing happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am hitting the captain, but, And so they're stuck in the nebula. They can't get out of the nebula. Something's wrong. So they call down to Hemmer. What's wrong with the nebula? Hemmer. The second I heard Hemmer's voice, I was like, oh, thank God, Hemmer's in this episode.
I'm like, oh my God, they didn't get rid of him. Thank God.
I'm giving an upvote right now for Hemmer being in the episode.
Can I just say, I also would like to give that an upvote. And I also just want to say that I think Hemmer is just strongly one of my favorite characters of the show. I cannot believe that he's got to be in every episode. Please. A little bit of Hemmer in every episode.
Yeah, can I downvote first the showrunners for not having the fortitude to believe in this character, and then the fans for not liking the character as much as we do. We made that whole video like, who is Hemmer, and we're by the way, we're very proud of that video. We'll put the link in the description at some point on the card or whatever, and it might be our lowest viewed video of all time. And it's so weird It's all about Hemmer. And Hemmer's a great character. Am I nuts? Hey, people in the chat. Are we nuts? Is Hemmer not a great character? Or
maybe we're crazy.
Yeah, maybe we're not. Maybe we just like engineers too much. I don't know.
Okay, there you go. Brian's drinking on the job. You guys saw that.
No, it's not. It's cough syrup. I'm coughing, dude.
That's what they all say.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever, bro.
Remember people were confused.
My mom.
Were saying you were drinking.
Yeah.
Remember people saying you were drinking?
Yeah.
There you go.
They're like, why is this guy always so drunk? Because I mumble a lot. I'm like, I'm not as think as you drunk I am. And you guys, I don't drink. I don't. Like, I'll pair a Stella with a steak sometimes, or I'll use sake to cook with or whatever. But like, I'm not against alcohol. I'm just not a big alcohol. I like a decent whiskey on the rocks, depending on the setting. But I am not someone who comes home and drinks every day. It's just not. I've never been that guy.
He sounds like an alcoholic guy, doesn't he? Even just like the way he's.
What are you talking about? I don't got a problem. I don't got a problem at all. I'm fine. Okay.
Do you think they made Uhura the bad guy in this episode because of all the bad things I've been saying about her?
Yeah, they watch our show. They're like, we gotta change it up.
We gotta double down.
Archmage Frey said Hemmer is my favorite, and he seems to have a good double act potential. I agree. KB Games, you're not nuts, but he's got to logically work in the story. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the engineer of the ship can almost always logically operate in the story, right?
Seems like it. Yeah.
I like Hemmer. They did
show engineering last episode, and there was no Hemmer there, which I thought was weird.
Yeah, I like Hemmer from Norman Butchwald. I like Hemmer. Want to know more about him? Hey, got a great video for you to watch.
Norman probably saw it.
Norman probably saw it. Did you see that, Norman? You see
Norman's not the problem.
Our Prime Video. Her is on rotations. Makes sense for her to do various jobs. He's just an engineer, but he was the chief engineer.
Oh, that's true. All right. I don't care. I don't care if he's just hanging out on the bridge. Yeah. Let him hang out on the bridge and cross his arms.
John Burns, are you D's nuts?
No. That meme never goes bad. It's never old.
Maybe not. I don't know. Yes, KB. I want to see a nice 5-minute shot of him cleaning the exhaust manifold every episode. Right. Just give me a sweeping shot of him doing something, and then continue on with the story. I don't know. He's a chief engineer. Let him say
something salty every episode.
Okay, let's talk about chief engineers real quick. Scotty, literally sitting in the captain's chair of the ship multiple episodes. Always interacting with the captain, explaining what can be done and what can't be done. He's a part of the core crew. TNG, George of the Forge, almost every episode. Multiple episodes literally centered around him. Even Voyager, right? Angry B'Elanna. Klingon, B'Elanna. Thank you.
B'Elanna Torres, yeah.
Constantly in every single scene. As
much as to your chagrin, yes.
Yes, I don't even like that character. That's my worst character in Voyager, aside from those ridiculously horrible villains, the Kazon.
Not in my opinion. I don't like Neelix.
I like Neelix. Yeah. So that's difference of opinion. And then DS9, and it was Miles O'Brien, right? Every episode.
Well, was he the chief? Yeah, I guess he was, yeah.
Right. So I don't Enterprise, Tucker, Trip in every episode. Yep. All right. So why can't we have more Hemmer?
Well, we did in this episode. We got more Hemmer. I think it was appropriate what happened. It's just the last 3 episodes he wasn't there at all.
Right.
So I think that was the problem. But this episode was good.
And there's only 2 episodes left, so.
Right. So hopefully he's in both.
I hope so. Okay, let me get rid of this D's nuts comment.
Yeah, that's great though.
Yes, we haven't seen Sam Kirk. I would have loved to have seen Sam Kirk in this episode and just get like stabbed by a sword. Just like
in the fantasy part of it.
Right, yeah. Yeah. All right, so they're trying to get out. Blah blah blah. We go back to M'Benga, and he gets in the turbo lift. I'm sorry. M'Benga.
Yes.
Gets in the turbo lift to come to the bridge, and comes out the turbo lift a king.
I gotta say, he looks like a king.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes, he's got that like dignified face.
Sure. Yeah. He also speaks with like gravitas. Like he's very calm and collected. This was a good show, good episode for him for sure.
You know what I find curious about this episode is they don't really ever explain how the entire the ship is still there, but it's dressed up like this medieval kingdom, right? Usually in a Star Trek episode, they usually end up in another location, right?
Yeah.
There's more transformation of what's happening, and I thought it's interesting that there's this really fleshed over combination of both things happening at the same time.
Right. Yeah. In other episodes, you would see them in Sherwood Forest or some kind of like when they're like moved away from the ship, they're in some other setting.
Right. And in this situation, the one thing that's never really clear is this creature in the nebula was able to materialize all this stuff. Something that it was really not explored, but it was something that was really going through my brain the whole time we were doing it.
Maybe it materialized it in their mind.
All right.
Maybe he remembered because of his connection to his daughter, and Hemmer remembered because he remembered he had memories because of his ability to block the entity. However, it didn't stop them from seeing the same things everyone else was seeing.
Interesting. Okay.
Because they're able to use the ship. Like he wasn't able to talk to the ship, but he was able to actually use the ship computers and tools and all that.
Correct. Yeah.
KB said maybe it was COVID related.
Maybe. Yeah, they couldn't go on vacation and they just dressed it up.
No, I think he was talking about Hemmer not being in the episodes.
Oh, well, maybe.
I guess
we haven't heard anything about that yet.
Yeah. I do know that the promotional material for Hemmer, the person that's dressed up as Hemmer in like the posters and all that, is not Hemmer.
Uh-huh.
It's not the actor that plays Hemmer. because you can actually zoom in on his eyes and like the person that's appearing as Hemmer doesn't have the same facial structure and is not blind. Okay, so Pike is really operating here. This guy's an actor, man. This guy's an actor.
That's like the statement of the obvious.
I mean, he's a
good actor.
He's a good actor. Like it's a 180 from his character, right?
Yeah, and I did give him an upvote for just him playing basically the complete opposite of Pike, and he's this like scaredy cat kind of coward.
Right. Yeah, Hail the King. So now,
and if you notice, most of the characters actually play the opposite of themselves. So Uhura is mean. La'an is cheerful. And there's a lot of this opposite swapping occurring.
Is she cheerful though?
La'an?
Yeah.
Yeah, she seems happy and she's completely opposite of what her normal character is.
Interesting.
You didn't notice that?
No.
She's singing.
Okay. No, yeah, I guess. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Me is being opposite.
I apologize. I was thinking of Una when you said that. My bad.
Oh.
Yeah, La'an was completely different. You're right.
Right.
Okay. All right. Going back to this. Sorry. All right. So yeah, he starts figuring out. He instantly starts remembering and sort of identifying that these are characters in the book, his kid's book, right?
Right.
And really well acted this whole thing, and Pike's interaction with the new Ortegas is hilariously good.
It's great. Yeah,
it's really good. And I'm not gonna give it an upvote because I just gave you an upvote, but it's very good. Like, and they continue that relationship the whole time, and it's very good. Now this is around the time though, like when he leaves the bridge, I'm sorry. Let's back up a little bit. This is when they tell the audience that they can use the computer in the ship's systems, because he's able to actually use the computer and get a read on what's going on, right?
Right.
But when he leaves the bridge, and I'm going to scan through that, I start to feel a little worried because, I mean, to be honest, because I'm looking at the time and I'm like, okay, there's no clear indication of what's happening. If they spend too much time in this fantasy without explaining it, just because, it's going to lose a little bit of the seriousness that Trek does. So I was a little worried about that, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I had that. I was strongly feeling that. In fact, to the point of, I was like, I think I'm going to end up downvoting this. It's just kind of taking too long. But they do manage to get out of it, I think, just in the nick of time.
Nick of time.
Yeah.
Yes. And had he not been using the ship's systems that whole entire time, it would have bothered me.
Right. And I think that, the elevated, I think they had elevated
dopamine.
Dopamine, which I guess that's a way for the entity to control their brain or something. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. If they're happy, they're more susceptible to influence. Yeah, he uses devices, blah, blah. Okay. Oh, okay, so this is when LNS comes in. Say the name?
La'an
Noonien Saint. And for the first time in a long time, I'm going to give her an upvote because...
Give us the specific reason why you're upvoting her right now.
It's not because of the way she's dressed. I know everyone's thinking that in their brain. It's not... It's not because of the way she's dressed either.
Okay. I love your honesty. Give me an upvote as well. She's got some pretty good pipes on her. She sings pretty well. And I just like seeing her character in this opposite sort of fashion.
Yeah, totally opposite. Like a completely different person, which was really great. If you guys have ever seen a show called Brooklyn Nine-Nine, there's a character that plays I forgot, the actress's name is Beatrice something. But she plays like this, like badass, like I carry a knife with me, I speak like this, and I'm gonna kill bad guys. Detective, right? But in real life, she has glasses and she speaks like that. She's like, I just love everything. I'm so happy. It was just like that. It was like the character that Beatrice plays versus this character. It was very, very cool. And I liked how she was able to pull that off.
Agreed.
All right. This is the Hammer portion.
And he's here.
Yes. Hammer is here.
And you immediately find out that he's not susceptible to it.
Right. Yes, which I
he's
love.
talking about being court-martialed and you guys work for me and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
I'm your superior.
I am your superior, sir.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. And they're looking for this. We're trying to figure out who's the bad guy, and Mbenga's still trying to figure out this whole situation, like what's going on. And I think he's finally relieved to find out there's somebody else who's not susceptible to what's happening.
Yes, and I almost immediately in my mind I was like, oh, so it's because he's a telepath or something. It's because of his strong. What's that?
And that's what it was.
Right. Yeah, and I pretty much immediately knew that. Which I liked because I was like, oh, that means that he's going to be a big part of this episode and sort of solving the problem, which was exactly what it came down to. Yeah. So the red guard was great. Leon did great here. I want to sort of scan through this. This is all great when they're like, hey, listen, the kingdom. I know this is neutral ground, but you gotta come. You gotta deal with this queen. Blah blah. We don't yet know that's Uhura.
Yeah. And
they sort of argue it out. And so they're taking him, and they're going to lock him up or whatever, right? What? By the way, he's playing the wizard caster.
Yeah, it's just funny the way you're dragging him away. I thought it was funny.
Okay, so this is when they get together, they try to figure out where he's at. This is interesting. How do they know where everything's at on the ship? That's a weird thing to me. Like that is like a battle plan, right?
Right. You're talking about the characters who are under the spell?
Yes.
Who are being controlled?
Yeah. And Mbenga is looking at that table being like, okay, we got to go over there. Like, well, where's over there? Like,
yeah, they seem to be just kind of, it was important that he was the king in this situation because they just kind of do whatever he says.
Right.
So that kind of worked out in that. I think that's probably what it is.
Cool.
And maybe on some deep level, they understand what's happening. And there's only this topical kind of change to them.
Right. Right. And she did great again. The whole, every part with La'an was very, very good.
I love the hair part in the middle.
And with Pike, yes. Perhaps diplomacy. Perhaps I should stay behind. Just a coward. Her sword is the name of her sword is called Starfall. I thought that was cool.
Starfall is thirsty.
Starfall is thirsty. Everything's good here. Scanning through, we're gonna get to Spock. This is the good stuff. There he is.
Oh, they should need video of this and show it to Spock later. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah, so Spock is playing this character that is Castor's brother, another wizard, right? And Mbenga knows that because from the book, and he's able to speak to him. And I like this scene when he goes, "Okay, I'll aid you, follow me." And Ortegas asks Mbenga, "Do you trust him?" He goes, "Not at all."
Right.
How do you know you can trust him? I know I can't trust him. Like immediately. He knows that immediately.
I love how they use the Jeffries tubes as well.
Yes.
Here, that was nice.
Yes. I still feel like the Jeffries, this little side quest here, guys. No pun intended. The Jeffries tubes shouldn't have artificial gravity. If you have to crawl around in them and use ladders and all that, just turn the gravity off in the Jeffries tubes.
Can you just turn the gravity off and like that? It wouldn't have to be a completely sectioned off part of the ship.
No, they have localized gravity. Like in TNG at least, they were able to control gravity via the room they're in. Even in Enterprise, there was parts of the ship that didn't have gravity.
I mean, I could see I don't even know how it would work, to be honest with you, and how they would remove gravity from different parts of the ship. But it's very traditional. TOS. Nobody's floating through Jeffrey's tubes in any of the series we watch, so it's reasonable.
That's fair. Okay, so another quick upvote.
Oh, and why are we upvoting this one, Brian?
Because she does a really good job. Her acting is really quite exemplary.
Listen, guys, you get quality reviews when you come to the Popcast based on how well the episodes are put together.
Whatever, she did good. I'm actually upvoting Spock and her because they both do well.
Nice.
Listen, when I saw the preview for this, I fully expected this to be like 80% cringe.
Okay, yeah.
And
I had that feeling too.
It somehow wasn't cringe.
Well, because the acting was good.
Right.
They played their parts. The characters were different, so it was interesting enough to watch. Nurse Chapel almost lost me in her part, but after that, it got a little more interesting.
Right. That's why Nurse Chapel for me also did not get an upvote, but not a downvote. Right. Just it was just a meh.
Yeah.
All right. And Pike said, "I knew I should have stayed in the castle." It's hilarious. So great. So they figure out that she's looking for the Mercury Stone. She acts like he has it. And they lock him up. And I love this. Pike's like, I'm not going to survive in here. That's so good.
I love how the entity actually used, iron gates on the jail.
Yes.
Obviously it wouldn't be like that ordinarily.
Right. That was great. Yep. And that's when he explains to Hemmer. They're all playing characters from a children's book. It's a long story. Where is the Mercury Stone? Of course, Hemmer doesn't actually know where the Mercury Stone is because he's not the character, right?
Right.
But he has a magic wand.
I love this. I love the whole science and abracadabra, and it's the character. This is one of the things you love about characters when they have this moment where he asks M'Benga, "What would a magician, a human magician, say?" And he said, "Abracadabra," and he's like, "I like that." It's like this moment where it's like, it's the little things like that with a character where that's going to stay with him now forever for the rest of Star Trek.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, abracadabra. And now I want a t-shirt with Hemmer's face on it that says abracadabra. I'm not gonna
exactly.
He goes, "Don't look, it'll blind you." And I think Ortega's asked, "What about you?" He's like, "I'm a wizard. I'll be fine.
I'm really blind, so, it won't matter." But
yeah, it's good. Not bad, wizard. It's so great.
They're all shocked. Yeah, it was great.
So yeah, we're gonna upvote abracadabra. Are you upvoting it too?
Yes, 100%.
And the wizard conjures his way out of his cell. When Spock goes, "My magic is more powerful." So good. All right, they're gonna.
Oh, this is good. That whole fight scene.
Yes. He runs away.
That's great.
So great. This guy Pike goes from being the Wild Wild West, fearless captain to being just a court jester coward. It was great.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, they fight it out. Blah blah. All right, this is when the Archer shows up. All right.
I love how she says, "You're unarmed," and then she takes that dude's sword and she's like, "I've armed myself." Ortega's is just really great.
Yeah. Yeah, Ortega's is actually growing on me. First couple episodes, I kept saying the same thing, I don't really know about this character yet. This character seems, but the character itself is really growing on me. Her little quips, her quippiness with the ability to also, be a Starfleet officer, follow a chain of command, is nice. I think because of my post-traumatic stress disorder from Discovery, I keep looking at every character with a weird shaved shaved head, and I'm assuming they're gonna be just insubordinate the entire times, and that's not what we're getting from Ortega. She is not insubordinate. She has a personality, and it's really growing on me.
While you stay here on the shot,
okay,
I just want to go ahead and give this an upvote.
Okay.
Because I'm getting my Lord of the Rings vibes going on here, and I just got a thing for female elves with with bow and arrows. So there you go.
Oh, okay.
My girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if her ears were like pointed, we'd be getting somewhere.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm with you.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the other two to upvote, so I figure
Yeah. I'm also into the elf. The night elf.
Good-looking women in Star Trek has always been important. Good-looking men, good-looking women.
I don't see why we can't have attractive characters.
It's important, right?
And unattractive characters. Whatever. Beauty is subjective.
Nerds love too, bro.
But don't go full one way and just be like, no attractive characters, only unattractive characters.
Because you don't have to be attractive to be in Star Trek.
Yeah, we get it. Yeah, but you can have both. You don't have, all right, moving on from this.
Run away as far as I can. Sorry, I made that weird for you.
Yeah. Oh no, it's not. All right, so that's what they identified that there is a entity of some sort inside the nebula that is able to create this new reality and infect the crew, and Hemmer was able to avoid it because of his extremely honed telepathic abilities. He was able to block said entity. However,
it's a consciousness without a body floating in space.
Right. But it's inside the nebula, right?
I mean, a nebula is merely just gas. Yeah. So,
but it's localized because he says at the end, like, she has to stay here for this to work.
Well, it's like being inside of a cloud, I guess, in space.
Okay.
So it's still a consciousness without a body.
Yeah, it's called Boltzmann brain. All right, so.
Yeah.
I just want to look that up real quick. Boltzmann brain. Is that a real thing? Because if it is, I'm giving it an upvote. And it is. Okay.
All right, read it.
According to this, it says the Boltzmann brain thought experiment suggests that it might be more likely for a single brain to spontaneously form in a void, complete with a memory of having existed in our universe, rather than for the entire universe to come about in the manner cosmologists, think it actually did. Physicists use the Boltzmann brain thought experiment as a reducto and absurdum argument for elevating competing scientific theories. Whatever. That's awesome. Upvote away.
I mean, if the universe can be created in any ways, then I think anything that can be created within the universe would be more likely than the universe being created.
Interesting how he said, like, yeah, it's more likely that this would develop versus an actual. So he's saying it's more likely that, like, there's a god was created versus the universe was spontaneously created. That's what that means. That's
correct.
Sort of cool.
Yeah.
That, know, hey, there's a theory about the creation of God. All right. So very cool. Upvote from me because you're using actual science, bro. I love it. And they figure out that they need to, like, speak to this entity, and make a deal with it or whatever. Right? Boom, boom, boom. Oh, no. They figure out actually that the Mercury Stone is his daughter, and where would his daughter be? She always wanted to visit his quarters, so that's where she would be.
Right.
Okay. All right, there's a really cool scene coming up I can't wait to get to. So Spock, evil, conniving.
He's overhearing.
Loki Spock is overhearing the whole thing with his smile.
Loki Spock.
Oh, yeah, Spokey. Okay, this character we're gonna call him Spokey. This is Spokey. Yeah, that's right. TNG had Nagelium. That was like that one random, like, the guy with the face. Hello, Captain. Remember Nagelium or Zero?
Yeah. He's also got his, like, George Michael's beard going on there.
Yes, the chemical that M'Benga used at the start of the episode is real too. That's right. That's cool. Okay. All right, so he overhears. He goes and tells the Queen. Of course, the coward makes a deal with the Queen to betray M'Benga. All right, they're trying to figure it out. Blah blah. Took her. They were trying to find out where she was, and she's not in the buffer, so that means she's on the ship. She's in his quarters. Sorry, I'm pushing through this pretty quickly. All right.
I mean, a lot of it is conjecture, anyways. A lot of it's fantasy story.
Right. Okay. And this one's, Pike betrays his king, and this whole standoff happens. I'm sorry, Your Majesty.
I'll be honest, Uhura looks pretty scary, man. She looks like she would take you down.
Yeah.
She's kind of buff.
She looks fantastic. I'm about to upvote her again if you keep talking about her. All right.
Don't threaten me with an upvote.
So this is great because Hemmer's like, continue on this quest and I will send you to the dark realm of the event horizon.
I love this.
This is a great. I'm upvoting this because this is so good.
Yes, me too. Upvote for me too.
So good.
This whole scene is good.
This whole scene's Abra Cadabra.
It's a communicator.
And he transports him away. So good.
It was great. If you don't love Hemmer, I'm sorry. I know everybody's like, you guys got such a Woody for Hemmer. We do, because he's great.
He's the best character that is being underused. So the best character, underrated character, in my opinion. Like, first off, he is a character, the first character in Star Trek to come from Enterprise. The first character from a species that was introduced in Enterprise in 2002. That's a big deal. Especially if you're an Enterprise fan, like that's a big deal, okay? Secondly, the species alone, I said this when we watched the Enterprise episode, like that's a cool species. Like we need to see more of them. He's a badass, and he's the chief engineer. I mean, you can't get better than that. The actor's a very good actor. He actually has a disability. They're pulling off the writing. My only criticism is we need to see more. That's it. That's why I have a hard on for Hemmer, because Hemmer is awesome.
Well said.
His daughter's in the quarters. She finds out that she is no longer sick. So her friend, which is the entity, the Boltzmann brain, made her better. And this is when he realizes he needs to speak to the Boltzmann brain. So he's talking to the Boltzmann brain through Hemmer. Hemmer says, "Listen, I'll do this, but it's painful, so keep it brief, right?
Be gentle." Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You want to explain this whole thing?
Yeah, it's a pretty reasonable conversation. They're having this conversation back and forth. The entity basically says, "Leave the girl. You had her locked up and trapped inside the ship where she couldn't get out." And he had to explain, "I was trying to save her." The entity seems to understand and says, "Well, you have two choices: either your crew or your daughter." And he goes, "You can't make me choose that. You can't make me do that." And
that's a horrible choice. That's a horrible. That's an impossible choice. It's an impossible choice because, like, let's say you choose your daughter, right? Let's say I choose my daughter, and you damn 250 people, or whatever, that not only are human beings, but also your friends to damnation. That you would be to choose that as someone who would do whatever I need to do for my daughter. That would be tainting your daughter's legacy, because in order to save her, you had to damn 250 other people.
Yeah, they let him off the hook here, and I think there's a downvote actually coming for this episode. They let M'Benga off the hook. He's got to make a really terrible choice, a really difficult choice. In the end, it's the right choice because he doesn't know if he can cure his daughter, and he's running out of time. And this would essentially allow her consciousness, at least, to exist forever, possibly.
Right.
And so he lets her go. But the problem is that the writers should have just let it be that. They should have let it go at that. And instead, because they don't want M'Benga to be burdened with the fact that his daughter he just let his child, as a child, go, not to know what's happening to her. He gives the moment where he gets to see her basically as an adult. And that's kind of cheating to let off the hook. You kind of remove all of the emotional anguish that would come from that. Now, maybe in season 2, we see her again. It would have been a great callback. Would have been a great way to tie it together, and it would have had emotional impact to find out what happened to her maybe later in another episode. but to do it within seconds, I mean, yes, it is something that you can do. I think what they wanted to do was move on from this character. We've had the little girl in the buffer all season, and they wanted to be able to stretch Mbenga's legs and give him other things to think about and worry about, and kind of just be done with this character.
Yes, I agree.
But it is a little bit, I would say it's a little bit on the weaker side.
So I'm actually going to upvote it, and I'll tell you why. I said it last week. I'm getting tired of this story arc with him and his kid. And not that I don't like it, but, and I said it, I said, listen, they're bringing it up every episode. Pretty much every time you see Mbenga, they're bringing up this story arc, and there's no progression. There's nothing. It doesn't add anything to the story. I said it last week. I literally said, like, if they don't resolve this story arc by the end of the season, I'm going to be annoyed. At the very least, I'm going to be annoyed.
Right.
And literally the next episode resolved. And it might have been a little bit of a cheap resolve, so I'm going to drop it down a point. It was a little cheap, but it wasn't bad. And
yeah, it wasn't bad.
What's that?
It wasn't bad. You're right.
Right. And this might actually be a really cool sort of Trek theory craft here, because, like, maybe that's the start of the Travelers, or maybe it has something to do with the Q. Maybe this is like the beginning of one of these, like, all sort of like these godlike, overly over OP characters in future Trek. Who knows?
It can't be, unfortunately. So, because with the Travelers, they were around for thousands and thousands of years before, because they were taking people from Earth long before. And of course, Q is, even older, or at least extraordinarily old.
Here's the problem. You are thinking in a linear way, as a human being would think. But at the end of this episode, when she appears to him and she says time works differently, it's completely different. They can experience any point in time. I'm not saying it started with her, right? I'm saying that the beam could have been around for thousands of years, but all of a sudden, the injection of a human consciousness is what sets them on the path to becoming a Q-like being. Because time to them doesn't
happen right now, though. My problem is it's happening right now. So, you got to be really careful when you deal with this. Like, time can be anywhere, point in time, and all stuff. You start to really lose people when you start to play these time shenanigans like this. And so I would say, if canon has decided that the Travelers are whatever thousands of years old and Q is millions of years old, you can't create that now. And I know that's something that we talk about a lot in our stuff. It's like, well, maybe this is the creation of the Q, or maybe this is the creation of this. Bullshit, I say. And I say it strongly, bullshit, that you can create it in any of these situations arbitrarily and then have it, dash out into time, and now it's accepted as canon. I just think it's cheating.
We don't know how long the Boltzmann brain's been around. Maybe it's the injection of a human consciousness is what puts them on the path of forming like that connection with humanity.
Well, I'm saying, but if you're saying that they made that connection a long time ago, that's fine. But if you're saying they made that connection now, and that resulted in the Travelers being created thousands of years ago, or something like that, or the Q being created, then I'm
saying it's more like their motivations for being so involved with humanity, right? Like Q is so involved in humanity. They're so interested in humanity, or at least Q and some other Qs are. It might have been because of the injection of a human consciousness into their
right now.
realm. Yeah, right now. This is why in 30 years you see what's that trio, whatever, the TOS version of Q interacting in some way with.
Well, it's just a few years away, I guess.
Or whatever it was. 10 years from now, when the TOS version of Q is interacting with the crew, because this injection of human consciousness into the Boltzmann brain.
I don't know. I think we're really stretching it here.
You want it to be more cut and dry, like they just evolved millions of years ago, and that's where we're at.
I just don't think it's realistic or fair to say that something that happened in the future resulted the past.
No. This is the past, though. For us, we've never seen. There's been no mention of the Q at the up until 10 years from now, when I mean, in theory, when the TOS crew meet with that tree, whatever that guy's name is, the guy with the start with the T. So here's the deal. What if the Q existed that way, but their fascination with humanity started as a result of a human consciousness joining their ranks?
Well, but the Q have existed for, at least 4 billion years, according to everything out there. So it would just be really tough to connect those two things.
All right. We're spending too much time thinking about this.
We're doing it very nicely, though. We can fight over it, be like, no, you're wrong.
I mean, yeah, this is what happens, by the way. Shay and I usually, when we're having meetings about our other channel, our main channel, this is what we do for hours. Just no, yes, no, yes, yes, no. But what about this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, you're right there. But what about this? No. 3 hours later, well, there's no video there. It doesn't make any sense.
There's no video. 3 hours later. I think, who said it best here? Somebody said that they can't leave the nebula, so it doesn't matter anyways. KBG Games. So it's like, okay, fair enough. I'll go with that. You can't leave the nebula. So
okay, all right.
But how did you project her as like an adult? I don't know. I guess I don't want to look at it too closely because I don't know.
Your brain's
it sure seems awfully.
I don't get it.
I'm like, time, stop it.
Stop. All right. So they established that she's never going to know death. She's going to live and play in these fantasies. A heaven for a kid. This is basically heaven, right?
Yeah.
This is like a manifestation of heaven. She leaves her physical body and her consciousness floats around being a kid forever.
What if it's the start of the Nexus?
Oh, snaps.
There you go. Could be that.
Yeah. What if it starts to travel and that's what starts the Nexus? And it starts traveling because that the human child's consciousness is what makes it want to explore.
Yeah, there we go.
Maybe it was stationary for millennia because it had no reason to leave. But now with the injection of a curious child's consciousness, it starts to move. There you go.
Okay.
All right.
So there we go. We came up with a theory. Are you
Is there a video there, guys? Huh? Should we make a video? The start of the Nexus.
Creates the nebula.
Yep.
Or creates the
Nexus.
What do we have? The Nexus.
All right. So basically, it releases the child, lets her, a very touching moment. Kid
that was sad.
Yeah. As a father of young daughters, this would. Let me tell you something.
Like to see it here.
I almost want to downvote Mbenga because I would be crying like a baby.
I would have liked to see a little more sadness from him, a little more gut wrenching.
Yeah, I'm actually going to downvote. I hate to downvote a sad guy, but
me too. Give it to me too.
And I like the character and I like the actor. There should have been more sadness here. Like your daughter's gone, and maybe you're off the hook, and maybe it's the best case scenario.
Right.
But I mean, you're still not going to be able to interact with your daughter anymore, right?
Right.
There
you are.
So I got to downvote this too.
I already gave it the downvote. So
yeah, that's right. You did. As much as nice as this was for closure for Mbenga, it shouldn't have happened here.
Cheating.
Yeah. It should have ended with his daughter floating away to the nebula. And it should have, the camera should have zoomed in on his face, and he should have had a tear coming down his tear. Yeah, that's right. God damn. A tear coming down his cheek. It should have been a moment for him where he is torn. He is sad that he's no longer going to see his daughter, but he knows this is the absolute best case scenario. It should have been one of those moments where, there's nothing you can do. This is the best you can do, and it sucks, but it's the best you got. And
it's also a great opportunity for us to build in the depth of the character of Mbenga. So he could have carried that tragedy with him inside. Right. And we could see that as his character is growing and developing.
Right.
Now it's happened and it's over. Now he's going to go along happily thinking, well, okay, everything's cool with my kid. And you lose something there a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And then introducing his daughter right afterwards, it's like, oh, here's your father with very little emotions on this, and then instantly reappearing, giving you closure. It's not, and he does cry there. He has some emotion, but it should have happened as a daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or as a kid, yeah.
As a kid, sorry. All right, then Hemmer wakes up at the worst head. He doesn't remember a thing. Another thing is, it sucks having to remember all this. That's one thing.
I guess, is it?
I mean, no one knows anything, but he remembers the whole saga. So he has to remember his daughter.
I mean, yeah. I mean, still, but he's living with the fact that she's going to live forever and everything's cool. And he's now seen her grow. I mean, it's not really I don't know. It's a better case scenario for him than it could have been.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, you're right. All right, so no one remembers nothing. They just lost 5 hours of their life. And then he's got to explain that his daughter's good. No one on the ship remembers, blah, blah. Okay. And that's it, man. That's it.
Overall, I thought the episode was good. It's not the best episode, but it was very Star Trek. It was very, lined up with, it reminded me of a TOS episode.
Right.
And so therefore, overall, I give it an upvote.
Yeah, and I'll give it an upvote too. Because overall, it was, like I said, it's like they found a bunch of Gene Roddenberry unused scripts, and they're just like punching them up and making them modern. It's good. Again, in the end, and that is not a criticism. That's a compliment. Okay, so that is it. Our official Popcast score is 7.5.
I love. You know what you should have said? Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. 7.5. Maybe I'll animate that on the screen. And that's it.
All right. Well, pretty good episode. I mean, we got 2 more left, right? 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Can
I downvote the fact there's only 2 left? Jeez.
It's funny. We have pretty good Trek going on here. There does. I don't know if it's just me, or does it still feel like something's missing? I can't quite put my finger on it. I really like it, but I'm not in love with it yet. And maybe it takes a season or 2 to really fall in love with something. But I do not look at the characters and think, oh my God, I love these characters yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but for the first time in a very long time, I am looking forward to every episode of Strange New Worlds.
That's a good point. I think I am too. Yeah.
Like every Wednesday, I'm like, oh, hey, Strange New Worlds. All right, got something to do. Get my food, settle down. Not a whole lot of TV does that for me nowadays, folks. So.
That's a good point, especially after watching Kenobi and then going, whew, thank God we got Strange New Worlds coming.
So true. Listen, if you haven't subscribed, on the way to the comment section to tell us how insanely wrong we are, hit that subscribe button, the like button, all the other buttons. And if you are watching live, please hit that like button and let's pump it up.